Stir. Stir the soup gently with a wooden spoon. Stirred. The wind stirred the leaves into a dance. Stirred. The emotions had stirred deeply within the artist. Stirs. A good speech stirs something powerful inside people. Stirring. The chef is stirring the batter before baking. Stitch. Stitch the torn flag before the parade starts. Stitch. Grandma stitched a quilt from old saris. Stitch. The wound had been stitched by the emergency team. Stitches. The tailor stitches elegant patterns on wedding dresses. Stitching. An artisan is stitching a mural onto fabric by hand. Stoop. Stoop to enter the ancient cave entrance. Stoop. The gardener stooped to plant the tulips. Stoop. That elderly monk had stooped over the sacred book. Stoops. A disciplined soldier never stoops to petty behavior. Stooping. The caretaker is stooping to clean under the cabinet. Stop. Stop the bus near the bookstore. Stop. The drummer stopped playing mid-performance. Stop. Traffic had stopped due to the parade. Stops. The system automatically stops after 10 errors. Stopping. A security guard is stopping vehicles at the gate. Store. Store extra grain in the barn before monsoon. Stored. Scientists stored the samples in liquid nitrogen. Stored. The memories had been stored in her old diary. Stores. The library stores thousands of ancient manuscripts. Storing. The crew is storing the equipment for the trek. Strain. Don't strain your eyes while reading in the dark. Strained. The athlete strained a muscle during training. Strained. Her voice had strained after hours of singing. Strains. Constant pressure strains the best of minds. Straining. The engineer is straining to lift the steel panel. Stray. Never stray from your principles. Strayed. A puppy strayed into the schoolyard. Strayed. Her attention had strayed during the lecture. Strays. A curious mind often strays into deep thoughts. Straying. The journalist is straying from the topic. Stress. Stress the importance of honesty in every speech. Stressed. The architect stressed every detail of the blueprint. Stressed. The employees had stressed over deadlines all week. Stresses. The teacher stresses grammar in every session. Stressing. The coach is stressing team coordination today. Stretch. Stretch your legs before running. Stretch. The bridge stretched across the wide river. Stretch. His patience had been stretched to its limit. Stretches. This cloth stretches when it's wet. Stretching. A yoga instructor is stretching on the mat. Strew. Strew rose petals on the walkway for the wedding. Strewed. They strewed rice and marigolds during the ritual. Strewn. Confetti had been strewn all over the stadium. Strews. The wind strews leaves across the garden path. Strewing. A performer is strewing sparkles into the air. Stride. Stride across the stage like you own it. Strode. The principal strode into the hall with authority. Stridden. The hero had stridden through danger fearlessly. Strides. The athlete strides with purpose before the race. Striding. A model is striding down the runway in heels. Strike. Strike the gong when the performance begins. Struck. Lightning struck the tallest tree in the village. Struck/stricken. The region had been stricken by a severe drought. Strikes. The blacksmith strikes the iron while it's hot. Striking. A cobra is striking its prey with lightning speed. String. String those lanterns across the garden. Strung. They strung beads together for a friendship bracelet. Strung. The guitar had been strung with fresh nylon wires. Strings. The puppeteer strings each character with care. Stringing. A florist is stringing jasmine for wedding garlands. Strive. Strive for progress, not perfection. Strove. The young monk strove for inner peace. Striven. The team had striven to win against all odds. Strives. Every inventor strives to solve real-world problems. Striving. A single parent is striving to build a better life. Study. Study the blueprint before making changes. Studied. The scientist studied the fossil under a microscope. Studied. That manuscript had been studied 4 decades. Studies. The owl studies its prey from the treetop. Studying. A scholar is studying ancient Sanskrit texts. Submit. Submit your design to the innovation contest. Submitted. The filmmaker submitted his short film to Cannes. Submitted. The application had been submitted before the deadline. Submits. The student council submits proposals monthly. Submitting. A startup is submitting its pitch to investors. Subscribe. Subscribe to the channel for weekly updates. Subscribe. She subscribed to a monthly wellness box. Subscribe. Thousands had subscribed before the launch. Subscribes. The artist subscribes to minimalism in design. Subscribing. Many are subscribing to courses on AI ethics. Subtract. Subtract the expenses from total income. Subtracted. The teacher subtracted marks for untidy work. Subtracted. Discounts had been subtracted at checkout. Subtracts. The app automatically subtracts tax. Subtracting. A cashier is subtracting refunds from the bill. Succeed. Succeed in silence, let your results speak. Succeeded. The climbers succeeded in reaching the summit. Succeeded. The diplomat had succeeded where others failed. Succeeds. The new CEO succeeds a visionary leader. Succeeding. A tech company is succeeding through innovation. Suck. Suck the juice through a straw, not the pulp. Suck. A toddler sucked his thumb while napping. Suck. The vacuum had sucked in a coin accidentally. Sucks. That old fan sucks in more power than it should. Sucking. A black hole is sucking in light and matter. Suffer. Never let others suffer for your mistakes. Suffered. The villagers suffered due to heavy floods. Suffered. That athlete had suffered multiple injuries last season. Suffers. The engine suffers when low-quality fuel is used. Suffering. A soldier is suffering from a lack of medical aid. Suggest. Suggest a movie for the weekend gathering. Suggested. The editor suggested trimming the last scene. Suggested. A new approach had been suggested by the intern. Suggests. The color palette suggests a calm mood. Suggesting. An architect is suggesting modern touches to the design. Summon. Summon help before the fire spreads. Summoned. The Queen summoned her council for advice. Summoned. A witness had been summoned to testify. Summons. The judge summons both parties to the bench. Summoning. A magician is summoning spirits from ancient scrolls. Supply. Supply the station with fresh drinking water. Supplied. The NGO supplied food during the disaster. Supplied. The parts had been supplied ahead of schedule. Supplies. The vendor supplies organic vegetables daily. Supplying. A tanker is supplying fuel to remote areas. Support. Support your local artists during the exhibition. Supported. Her family supported her dream to become a pilot. Supported. His research had been supported by grants. Supports. The beam supports the entire structure above. Supporting. A strong community is supporting the small business. Suppose. Suppose we lived on Mars, what would change? Suppose. The guest was supposed to arrive by noon. Supposed. That theory had been supposed correct for years. Supposes. The story supposes a world without gravity. Supposing. A professor is supposing a different angle to the problem. Surge. Surge forward when the gates open. Surge. The electricity surged through the damaged wires. Surge. Excitement had surged during the last over. Surges. Demand surges every year during the festival season. Surging. The crowd is surging toward the concert stage. Surmise. Surmise the ending based on the clues given. Surmised. The detective surmised the motive instantly. Surmised. The reason had been surmised but never confirmed. Surmises. The journalist surmises that a major change is coming. Surmising. A reader is surmising what will happen next. Surpass. Surpass your own limits before chasing others. Surpassed. The sequel surpassed all expectations. Surpassed. His talent had surpassed even the critics' views. Surpasses. Innovation surpasses tradition in this product. Surpassing. A musician is surpassing all previous records. Surround. Surround the fire with stones for safety. Surrounded. The cottage was surrounded by wildflowers. Surrounded. The building had been surrounded by protesters. Surrounds. A tranquil garden surrounds the old temple. Surrounding. Security is surrounding the celebrity at the event. Survey. Survey the site before starting the bridge work. Surveyed. Engineers surveyed the land with precision tools. Surveyed. The area had been surveyed after the earthquake. Surveys. The organization surveys consumer behavior monthly. Surveying. A drone is surveying the damaged coastline. Survive. Survive the storm by staying indoors. Survive. A cactus survived months without rain. Survive. That village had survived the cyclone with unity. Survives. A legend survives through the stories of elders. Surviving. A lone wolf is surviving in the harsh wilderness. Swallow. Swallow the pill without chewing. Swallowed. A pelican swallowed a whole fish. Swallowed. Her pride had been swallowed in silence. Swallows. The child swallows every bite too fast. Swallowing. A stage actor is swallowing nerves before the performance. Sway. Sway gently to the rhythm of the breeze. Swayed. The tree swayed under the monsoon wind. Swayed. Public opinion had swayed after the speech. Sways. Music sways the mood of an entire room. Swaying. A child is swaying on the hanging bridge. Swear. Swear to tell the truth before the judge. Swore. The knight swore loyalty to his kingdom. Sworn. That oath had been sworn before the council. Swears. The witness swears by her statement. Swearing. A fan is swearing loudly after the team's loss. Sweat. Sweat it out in the gym for results. Sweat. The workers sweat under the blazing sun. Sweat. That team had sweat 4 weeks before the finals. Sweats. A candidate sweats during high-pressure interviews. Sweating. The cook is sweating over a hot stove during lunch rush. Sweep. Sweep the corridor before guests arrive. Swept. The current swept away the floating leaves. Swept. Confetti had swept the floor after the celebration. Sweeps. A janitor sweeps the temple steps every morning. Sweeping. A housekeeper is sweeping the marble hallway. Swell. Swell with pride when praised genuinely. Swelled. Her ankle swelled after the fall. Swollen. The river had become swollen after heavy rain. Swells. His heart swells with joy during reunions. Swelling. The wound is swelling and needs attention. Swim. Swim across the lake before sunset. Swam. Dolphins swam alongside the boat. Swum. The treasure had been swum past by many divers. Swims. The polar bear swims across freezing waters. Swimming. A lifeguard is swimming toward the stranded surfer. Swing. Swing the bat smoothly for power. Swung. The door swung open with a loud creak. Swung. The pendulum had swung to the opposite end. Swings. The market swings with every policy announcement. Swinging. A child is swinging joyfully at the park. Swat. Sweat all night if the exam scares you. Swat. The medical student swat every topic before the viva. Swat. Formulas had been swat without real understanding. Swats. That genius swats before every major competition. Swatting. A group is swatting like crazy in the hostel library. Take. Take this shortcut to avoid the traffic. Took. The painter took inspiration from the sunset. Taken. The opportunity had been taken by someone else. Takes. The machine takes exactly 2 minutes to process. Taking. A reporter is taking notes during the press meet. Talk. Talk about your dreams with those who care. Talk. The kids talked non-stop during the road trip. Talk. A secret had been talked about behind closed doors. Talks. The therapist talks with calm and clarity. Talking. A teacher is talking about ancient civilizations. Tap. Tap the screen to unlock the device. Tap. The officer tapped the window to signal the driver. Tap. That musician had tapped into raw emotion. Taps. A student taps the desk when nervous. Tapping. A player is tapping the ball with perfect control. Taste. Taste the dish before serving it. Tasted. The chef tasted the soup for salt. Tasted. Victory had never tasted sweeter for the underdogs. Tastes. This curry tastes like home. Tasting. A food critic is tasting every item on the menu. Tax. Tax luxury items fairly, not basic goods. Tax. The government taxed digital services recently. Tax. His patients had been taxed beyond reason. Taxes. The system taxes every imported product. Taxing. The schedule is taxing both body and mind. Teach. Teach values before you teach equations. Taught. A poet taught meter through simple rhymes. Taught. The basics had been taught by experience. Teaches. That channel teaches coding in fun ways. Teaching. A volunteer is teaching kids in the slums. Tier. Tear that old wallpaper off the wall. Tore. The racer tore through the track like a bullet. Torn. Her letter had been torn to pieces. Tears. That emotion tears through even the strongest walls. Tearing. A fighter is tearing through every obstacle. Tee. Tee the ball up before the first swing. Teed. The golfer teed off with perfect form. Teed. The shot had been teed precisely for the drive. Tease. The player tees the ball with confidence. Teeing. A cricketer is teeing the bat for a big hit. Tell. Tell your version without fear. Told. The elder told a story under the starlit sky. Told. Secrets had been told behind closed doors. Tells. The rhythm tells a story beyond words. Telling. A sculpture is telling history without a single word. Tempt. Tempt fate only if you're ready for the consequences. Tempted. The aroma tempted every passerby into the bakery. Tempted. She had been tempted by the shortcut to success. Tempts. A sale sign tempts even the most disciplined shopper. Tempting. That glowing offer is tempting many job seekers. Tend. Tend the garden before the weeds take over. Tended. The old monk tended to the injured bird. Tended. The wounds had been tended with herbs. Tends. The mind tends to wander without focus. Tending. A shepherd is tending sheep under the sun. Terminate. Terminate the call if it turns abusive. Terminated. The lease was terminated due to violations. Terminated. All connections had been terminated by the company. Terminates. The route terminates at the mountain base. Terminating. The system is terminating due to a fatal error. Terrify. Terrify the enemy with your courage, not weapons. Terrified. The child was terrified by the thunderclap. Terrified. That forest had terrified many travelers before. Terrifies. Darkness terrifies some more than silence. Terrifying. A scream is terrifying the entire neighborhood. Test. Test the software before release. Tested. Scientists tested the vaccine in multiple trials. Tested. Every theory had been tested over time. Tests. The company tests all products for safety. Testing. A researcher is testing new materials for durability. Thank. Thank the bus driver before getting off. Thanked. The author thanked every contributor by name. Thanked. The team had been thanked after the final match. Thanks. The speaker thanks the audience for their patience. Thanking. A child is thanking guests after the birthday party. Think. Think twice before making a bold claim. Thought. A philosopher thought deeply about human nature. Thought. The idea had been thought of long ago. Thinks. The professor thinks beyond conventional logic. Thinking. An innovator is thinking of a smarter solution. Thrive. Thrive in chaos if you want to lead. Throve. That desert flower throve on just a drop of water. Thriven. The small cafe had thriven despite competition. Thrives. Creativity thrives in a relaxed mind. Thriving. A local startup is thriving on community support. Throw. Throw kindness like confetti. Through. The player threw the ball across the field. Thrown. A wrench had been thrown into the plans. Throws. The robot throws objects with perfect accuracy. Throwing. A juggler is throwing pins mid-performance. Thrust. Thrust the sword straight into the ground. Thrust. The dancer thrust her hand into the spotlight. Thrust. The door had been thrust open by the wind. Thrusts. The rocket thrusts forward with fiery power. Thrusting. A warrior is thrusting his spear toward the sky. Thump. Thump the drum to signal the start of the ritual. Thump. The boxer thumped the bag with raw power. Thump. A mysterious knock had thumped at midnight. Thumps. The washing machine thumps when overloaded. Thumping. A rabbit is thumping its foot on the ground in warning. Tie. Tie your shoelaces before running. Tied. The scout tied the rope with a perfect knot. Tied. Her hands had been tied behind her back in the scene. Ties. The festival ties people together in unity. Tying. A craftsman is tying colorful threads for Rocky. Tire. Tie or not, for the reward lies at the end. Tired. The hikers tired after a steep climb. Tired. The soldiers had tired from guarding all night. Tires. Routine tires even the most passionate soul. Tiring. A long debate is tiring the panel members. Toss. Toss the vegetables in olive oil before roasting. Toss. The chef tossed the pancake into the air. Toss. Coins had been tossed to settle the bet. Tosses. A referee tosses the coin before every match. Tossing. A juggler is tossing pins while riding a unicycle. Touch. Touch the sculpture gently, it's centuries old. Touch. The teacher's words touched every student deeply. Touch. The flame had touched the paper briefly. Touches. Music touches hearts like nothing else. Touching. A street artist is touching up his mural. Train. Train hard today to shine tomorrow. Trained. The athlete trained under extreme weather. Trained. That army had been trained in guerrilla tactics. Trains. The institute trains candidates for government exams. Training. A rescue dog is training in the snowfields. Trample. Trample not on others to reach the top. Trampled. Protesters trampled the barricade in a frenzy. Trampled. The crops had been trampled by wild boars. Tramples. An angry mob tramples everything in its path. Trampling. Elephants are trampling the dry leaves as they march. Transfer. Transfer the files to a backup drive. Transferred. She transferred to a new branch last week. Transferred. Authority had been transferred to the committee. Transfers. The app transfers money in seconds. Transferring. A technician is transferring footage from the camera. Transform. Transform your weakness into your greatest weapon. Transformed. The actor transformed for the role dramatically. Transformed. That village had been transformed by clean energy. Transforms. Art transforms dull spaces into magic. Transforming. A startup is transforming education through AI. Translate. Translate this poem into French, keeping the emotion. Translated. The guide translated the monk's words for the tourists. Translated. The novel had been translated into 20 languages. Translates. That slogan translates to victory through unity. Translating. A scholar is translating ancient texts for a museum. Trap. Trap the mouse without hurting it. Trap. The climber was trapped between two ledges. Trap. The tourists had been trapped by the landslide. Traps. That twist traps the audience in suspense. Trapping. A poacher is trapping animals in the reserve. Travel. Travel light and live deeply. Traveled. The sailor traveled across 7 seas. Traveled. That book had traveled through generations. Travels. The doctor travels to rural areas weekly. Traveling. A group of students is traveling through Himachal. Tread. Tread carefully near the edge of the cliff. Trod. The monk trod silently through the monastery. Trodden. That path had been trodden by sages long ago. Treads. A panther treads softly through the jungle. Treading. A traveler is treading unknown lands. Treasure. Treasure moments, not materials. Treasured. The child treasured his grandfather's stories. Treasured. That letter had been treasured 4 decades. Treasures. The museum treasures relics from lost civilizations. Treasuring. A writer is treasuring feedback from early readers. Treat. Treat guests like family. Treated. The doctor treated the wound with care. Treated. The symptoms had been treated promptly. Treats. This cafe treats every customer with warmth. Treating. A medic is treating soldiers at the camp. Tree. Tree the animal before it escapes into the wild. Treed. The leopard treed a goat on the hilltop. Treed. A robber had been treed by barking dogs. Trees. The hunter trees smaller prey to trap it. Treeing. The pack is treeing a raccoon in the forest. Tremble. Tremble not, even when the world shakes. Trembled. The leaves trembled in the icy breeze. Trembled. Her hands had trembled while reading the verdict. Trembles. The earth trembles before the volcano erupts. Trembling. A violinist is trembling from performance nerves. Triumph. Triumph over doubt with determination. Triumph. The underdogs triumphed in the final match. Triumph. A warrior had triumphed over his inner demons. Triumphs. That film triumphs by telling a bold story. Triumphing. A scientist is triumphing despite limited funding. Trust. Trust your gut when logic fails. Trusted. The manager trusted her instincts over data. Trusted. That secret had been trusted to no one else. Trusts. A mentor trusts the student's potential. Trusting. A child is trusting the stranger's smile. Try. Try once more before giving up. Tried. The musician tried a different genre this time. Tried. Every option had been tried before consulting the expert. Tries. The robot tries various paths to reach the goal. Trying. A student is trying to solve a tricky riddle. Turn. Turn the handle clockwise to open the valve. Turned. The traffic light turned green just in time. Turned. The situation had turned critical overnight. Turns. Compass turns as the wind shifts. Turning. A sculptor is turning the wheel to shape the pot. Type. Type the password without looking at the keyboard. Type. The assistant typed the document in under 5 minutes. Type. Notes had been typed before the lecture ended. Types. This software types faster than any human. Typing. A coder is typing lines of JavaScript rapidly. Typeset. Typeset the manuscript neatly for publishing. Typeset. The book was typeset by a professional designer. Typeset. Pages had been typeset using modern software. Typesets. The system typesets complex layouts automatically. Typesetting. A layout artist is typesetting a science magazine. Understand. Understand your strengths before choosing a path. Understood. The child understood the concept after a simple story. Understood. The rules had been understood by all participants. Understands. That guide understands 6 different languages. Understanding. A counselor is understanding the student's struggles. Undo. Undo the last move to fix the error. Undid. The magician undid the knot with a flick. Undone. Centuries of damage had been undone by restoration. Undoes. One lie undoes years of trust. Undoing. A careless decision is undoing years of progress. Uproot. Uproot the weeds to protect the crops. Uprooted. The villagers uprooted trees to widen the path. Uprooted. Families had been uprooted by the conflict. Uproots. The storm uproots trees like paper toys. Uprooting. A farmer is uprooting old stumps with a tractor. Upset. Upset the balance, and the plan may collapse. Upset. The underdog team upset the tournament favorite. Upset. The order had been upset by a last-minute change. Upsets. A bad review upsets sensitive authors. Upsetting. The news is upsetting fans around the world. Urge. Urge your peers to vote wisely. Urge. The captain urged the team to keep fighting. Urged. Immediate action had been urged by scientists. Urges. The ad urges people to save water daily. Urging. A social worker is urging reform in the system. Use. Use every opportunity like it's your last. Used. The villagers used bamboo for construction. Used. These tactics had been used in ancient wars. Uses. This app uses AI to personalize suggestions. Using. A student is using flashcards to memorize verbs. Utter. Utter only truth, even when it hurts. Uttered. The witness uttered a single word, guilty. Uttered. No sound had been uttered after the explosion. Utters. A storyteller utters lines with perfect emotion. Uttering. A monk is uttering chants in a deep voice. Value. Value honesty more than flattery. Valued. The director valued punctuality above all. Valued. His loyalty had been valued by the entire team. Values. The startup values innovation over tradition. Valuing. A mentor is valuing effort more than raw talent. Vanish. Vanish before the enemy spots you. Vanish. The magician vanished behind a cloud of smoke. Vanish. That painting had vanished from the gallery overnight. Vanishes. The moon vanishes behind the clouds now and then. Vanishing. A rare language is vanishing from the world map. Vary. Vary your workouts to avoid boredom. Varied. The restaurant menu varied with each season. Varied. Prices had varied depending on the region. Varies. The weather varies drastically across the mountains. Varying. A speaker is using varying tones to keep attention. Verify. Verify the payment before dispatching the goods. Verified. The applicant's details were verified by HR. Verified. Every signature had been verified before approval. Verifies. The system verifies login credentials instantly. Verifying. A security officer is verifying ID cards at the gate. Vex. Vex not the ones who stay silent. Vexed. The judge was vexed by constant interruptions. Vexed. The situation had vexed even the calmest minds. Vexes. Loud music at night vexes the neighborhood. Vexing. A delayed response is vexing the entire committee. Vie. Vie for attention only when it matters. Vied. Two cities vied to host the international summit. Vied. The athletes had vied for the gold medal fiercely. Vies. Every team vies for the top spot in the league. Vying. Young artists are vying for the national award. View. View criticism as a chance to grow. Viewed. The documentary was viewed by millions worldwide. Viewed. That decision had been viewed as controversial. Views. The platform views every complaint seriously. Viewing. A group is viewing the eclipse through protective lenses. Violate. Violate no law in the name of urgency. Violated. Protesters claimed their space had been violated. Violated. Confidentiality had been violated during the leak. Violates. Piracy violates intellectual property rights. Violating. A user is violating terms by using fake credentials. Vomit. Vomit if needed, but don't hold it in. Vomited. The sailor vomited during the rough voyage. Vomited. Food poisoning had caused several to vomit. Vomits. That dog vomits when it eats too fast. Vomiting. A child is vomiting after eating expired candy. Wait. Wake before dawn and feel the difference. Woke. The monk woke at 4 a.m. for meditation. Woken. He had been woken by a sudden scream. Wakes. The alarm wakes students every morning at 6. Waking. A mother is waking her son gently with a lullaby. Walk. Walk the path, even if it's steep. Walk. The artist walked alone through misty lanes. Walk. That pilgrim had walked 4 weeks in silence. Walks. The professor walks to campus every morning. Walking. A musician is walking barefoot on stage in tribute. Wander. Wander through forests, not just phone screens. Wandered. The monk wandered from village to village. Wandered. His mind had wandered far from the present. Wanders. A mountain goat wanders freely across cliffs. Wandering. A poet is wandering in search of metaphors. Want. Want less, and you'll live more. Wanted. The explorer wanted more than just fame. Wanted. That gadget had been wanted by everyone. Wants. Every artist wants their work to speak. Wanting. A reader is wanting more depth from the story. Warn. Warn others, even if they won't listen. Warned. The signs warned of falling rocks ahead. Warned. The town had been warned days before the flood. Warns. This report warns about rising cyber threats. Warning. A siren is warning nearby residents to evacuate. Waste. Waste no time on meaningless drama. Wasted. The student wasted hours on distractions. Wasted. Food had been wasted after the event. Wastes. The old machine wastes too much energy. Wasting. A team is wasting resources due to poor planning. Watch. Watch the stars, they don't rush. Watch. The children watched the puppet show in awe. Watch. The ceremony had been watched by millions. Watches. The owl watches everything from the branch. Watching. A director is watching the scene unfold silently. Water. Water the soul with calm and compassion. Watered. The gardener watered every sapling with love. Watered. The land had been watered after a long drought. Waters. This device waters crops automatically. Watering. A child is watering plants on the school terrace. Wave. Wave at strangers, you might make their day. Wave. The lifeguard waved to call swimmers back. Wave. The crowd had waved flags in unity. Waves. The conductor waves with rhythm and precision. Waving. A fan is waving a banner from the balcony. Wax. Wax the floor until it shines like a mirror. Waxed. The car was waxed before the exhibition. Waxed. That candle had been waxed in rose scent. Waxes. The moon waxes until it becomes full. Waxing. A beautician is waxing a client's eyebrows. Waylay. Waylay not travelers unless you seek trouble. Waylaid. The convoy was waylaid by masked bandits. Waylaid. A merchant had been waylaid near the old highway. Waylays. A sudden question waylays the speaker mid-talk. Waylaying. A gang is waylaying tourists near the crossroads. Where. Wear confidence like your favorite outfit. Wore. The bride wore a sari older than the city itself. Worn. The shoes had been worn down from daily walks. Wears. This armor wears with pride and power. Wearing. A dancer is wearing traditional bells on her feet. Weave. Weave ideas like threads into a strong message. Wove. The village women wove baskets during monsoon. Woven. That rug had been woven by hand in Kashmir. Weaves. The director weaves scenes like poetry in motion. Weaving. A spider is weaving a web above the doorway. Wed. Wed your purpose, not just your passion. Wed. The couple wed under a banyan tree. Wed. Two cultures had been wed through this celebration. Weds. The ceremony weds tradition with modern flair. Wedding. A priest is wedding two souls at the temple altar. Weep. Weep if you must, but rise after the tears. Wept. The statue wept during the prayer, they said. Wept. Generations had wept reading that final chapter. Weeps. Even the sky weeps in July storms. Weeping. A willow is weeping by the silent lake. Weigh. Weigh your words before you speak. Weighed. The merchant weighed spices on a brass scale. Weighed. Every factor had been weighed in the verdict. Weighs. This machine weighs parcels with accuracy. Weighing. A pharmacist is weighing powdered medicine carefully. Welcome. Welcome challenges, they sharpen your edge. Welcomed. The soldier was welcomed with a hero's garland. Welcomed. Refugees had been welcomed with open arms. Welcomes. This village welcomes guests with song and sweets. Welcoming. A volunteer is welcoming attendees to the event. Wend. Wend your way through the misty valley. Went. The pilgrims went barefoot through sacred grounds. Went. The caravan had went westward under the stars. Wends. The river wends through rice fields and temples. Wending. A musician is wending toward his village with a flute. Wet. Wet your hands before kneading the dough. Wet. Rain wet the prayer flags hanging in the hills. Wet. The soil had been wet by early morning drizzle. Wets. The rising tide wets the fisherman's footprints. Wetting. A sculptor is wetting the clay before molding. Whip. Whip the cream until peaks form. Whipped. The storm whipped across the coast like fury. Whipped. The banner had been whipped off by the wind. Whips. The coach whips the team into shape. Whipping. A baker is whipping eggs for the cake base. Whisper. Whisper secrets only to those who listen with soul. Whispered. The wind whispered through the bamboo leaves. Whispered. Last words had been whispered in a trembling voice. Whispers. The forest whispers stories older than history. Whispering. A child is whispering prayers before bedtime. Win. Win the respect, not just the trophy. Won. The poet won hearts with every line. Won. That election had been won by a landslide. Wins. The underdog wins when no one believes. Winning. A rookie is winning awards with raw talent. Wish. Wish for peace, but prepare for storms. Wish. The traveler wished for one more sunset. Wish. That moment had been wished for since childhood. Wishes. The genie grants 3 wishes, choose wisely. Wishing. A student is wishing for exam results silently. Withdraw. Withdraw gently when your presence isn't needed. Withdrew. The knight withdrew his sword in silence. Withdrawn. His name had been withdrawn from the nomination. Withdraws. The ATM withdraws money within seconds. Withdrawing. A country is withdrawing its troops from the border. Work. Work smart, not just hard. Work. The crew worked non-stop for 12 hours. Work. That system had worked well until last month. Works. The artist works with recycled materials. Working. A coder is working on a startup project overnight. Worry. Worry less about problems, more about purpose. Worried. The coach worried about his team's morale. Worried. That patient had worried for no reason. Worries. This generation worries more than it dreams. Worrying. A parent is worrying about tuition deadlines. Worship. Worship not idols, but values. Worship. Villagers worship the tree like a god. Worship. That singer had been worshipped like royalty. Worships. The monk worships at dawn, every single day. Worshipping. A community is worshipping together under moonlight. Ring. Wring the cloth before hanging it up. Wrung. The farmer wrung the shirt after the downpour. Wrung. His heart had been wrung by the harsh truth. Rings. Every lie wrings the soul a little. Wringing. A washer is wringing out soaked laundry. Right. Write your truth, even if no one listens. Wrote. The poet wrote lines soaked in sorrow. Written. The legacy had been written in every street mural. Writes. That author writes stories that heal. Writing. A child is writing his first diary entry. Yawn. Yawn once, and the whole room follows. Yawned. The owl yawned before its night hunt. Yawned. The room had yawned into awkward silence. Yawns. The intern yawns through the endless briefing. Yawning. A lion is yawning under the afternoon sun. Yell. Yell if you're alive, silence doesn't win. Yelled. The sailor yelled as waves hit the deck. Yelled. No one had yelled louder than the protest leader. Yells. The audience yells at every plot twist. Yelling. A street vendor is yelling to attract customers. Yield. Yield not to pressure, own your pace. Yielded. The farmland yielded its best crop after years. Yielded. Control had been yielded peacefully. Yields. This formula yields accurate results every time. Yielding. A branch is yielding to the storm's pressure. Zinc. Zinc the pipes to protect from rust. Zinlead. The factory zinlead every sheet before shipment. Zinlead. Tools had been zinlead for military use. Zincs. The workshop zincs metals on request. Zinleying. A welder is zinleying parts for outdoor use. Zoom. Zoom in on progress, not perfection. Zoomed. The drone zoomed over the mountain peak. Zoomed. The lens had zoomed into microscopic detail. Zooms. The camera zooms with stunning clarity. Zooming. A cyclist is zooming down the hillside trail.